Hello guys, my name is Camila. I am from Uruguayan Brazilian descent and I am in my last year at Erasmus University studying International Business Administration, also known as IBA. And I'm going to talk about things I would have liked to know before studying in the Netherlands and at Erasmus specifically. If you guys see that I'm looking downwards, it's because I have my computer with all my notes. I'm in my childhood home, so if you also hear some sounds, it's because I'm not living alone. This is not my apartment where I usually film. It's my house back in Uruguay, so please be patient if you hear anything in the background. Since I was very young, I knew that I wanted to leave Uruguay and study abroad. I always wanted to study in an international context because I am an international myself, even though my dad is Uruguayan, my mom's Brazilian, and I was born in South Africa and I lived there for a few years. When I was 5, I moved to Uruguay and then I was raised here my whole life. But I also knew that I wanted to leave, study in an international context, and that's one of the reasons why I chose Erasmus University. It has a big percentage of international students, so if you're looking for an international experience, I would really recommend going to Erasmus because most of the people have a very large multicultural background. Also, inside the Netherlands, Rotterdam is the largest and biggest international city. So it is not a necessity to learn how to speak Dutch because mostly everyone knows how to speak English. But if you speak Dutch, it is a plus. What I think it's the most important to start this video with is with the application requirements. So in my case, I can only talk about my case because it's what I know. I didn't have the IB curriculum. I did the national curriculum of my country, meaning I did the Uruguayan curriculum. And for that, they said that my math level was not high enough for the university. And because I did my whole degree in Spanish and in English, but not mostly in English, I had to prove my English proficiency. So it is very important that you have recent exams. If I'm not wrong, they need to be valid or taken within 2 years, not more than 4, which my last exam, I took it a long time ago, so it wasn't valid for my application procedure, and I had to take another exam. So for the Erasmus IBA, I had to take the IELTS academic exam. You need a minimum, I think, of 6, if I'm not wrong. I got an 8, so it was perfect. And I also had to take a math exam, which was the OMT-A exam. All this also, you can find it on their website, on their application requirements. You need a minimum of 75%, and you can take the exam 3 times. So it's valid for you to take it 3 times. I took it twice. The first time I got a 74, which I was very sad. But the second time I got an 82%. So they understand that you may not get it the first time. That's why you have 3 different opportunities. So regarding Erasmus itself, the International Business Administration degree is of 3 years. So in the Netherlands, you have 2 types of what you would call universities. You have what it's a university and what's a hogeschool. So a hogeschool has 4 years and a university has 3 years. You would ask why one has 4 years and why the other one has 3 years. So the one that has 4 years, they have mostly a mandatory 1-year internship, which other universities don't have. Usually you have a 3 to 6 month internship for the other universities. And also inside the Netherlands, the normal university, not the hogeschool, is considered of a better level than a hogeschool university. So if you want to, for example, study at a hogeschool and then you want to go to another university, for example, Erasmus, to do your master's, you would need to do a pre-master's and then you would be able to do a master's. So taking into consideration, Erasmus University is more of a research university, while the hogeschool university is more of a practical university. So you have a lot of case studies, and that's why your internship is a year long. So apps, which I think are super useful, and you need 100% for your studies at Erasmus University, and most of Dutch universities is Outlook. So all your emails are going to be sent to Outlook. You're also gonna need Canvas, which is your like study app. So you're gonna get all your assignments there, or your study materials there, or your video lectures there. You're also gonna get all your announcements by your teachers. You also need to, if you have any questions, you can send them over there. I can show here somewhere how it works. But it's very important you also get that one. For Erasmus, it's also very important to get rooms, or study rooms. I'm also gonna put a picture of it over here, which shows the availability of the study rooms on campus. So usually if you want a study room, you need to reserve. I've never reserved one. I just checked on study rooms if there was a room available at Polak, let's say, and I would go to Polak and study. So that's an also very important app that you should get. And then I just use also to organize myself Google Calendar, which I think is very important. And then one of the tools that I used, and also a sponsor for this video, is UPDF 2.0, the all-in-one PDF editor for Mac that's honestly made my handling of PDFs so much easier. UPDF just got a major update. It's super fast, super sleek, and super intuitive. Whether you need to edit text, add image, or create PDFs from scratch, everything's just a click away. Moreover, it's got an AI assistant, so you can just chat with him, ask him to summarize, translate, or ask questions about anything. It's crazy useful when you have long docs, which happens a lot during university. You need to read a lot of university literature, and it's so much. And then if you need to compress, watermark, or OCR a bunch of files, the batch processing tools are a total time saver. So you just need to drag, set, and boom, it's done. You can also lock PDFs with your passwords, redact sensitive information, or even share documents with a QR code or cloud link. So check out UPDF for Mac via the link below. You can try it for free, and then full access is super affordable. So huge thanks UPDF for supporting my channel and being my first ever supporter, or my first ever sponsor ever. So thank you so much, UPDF. Then one thing that most Dutch universities have is what it's called a BSA. So it's the Binding Study Advice. I didn't know that existed at all. And in my first year, I almost got into big trouble because of that. So what does it mean? It means you need an amount of credits to be able to continue your studies. If you don't reach that amount of credits, then the university thinks that that study is not for you. And if I'm not wrong, you cannot study that same bachelor in any other university in the Netherlands for 3 years. Oh, sorry, no, my boyfriend is telling me in that year, in that same university. So, for example, in IBA, so in Erasmus, my BSA is of 60 credits. That means you have to pass all your subjects. If you don't pass your whole subjects, you cannot continue your studies in that university for the next 3 years. However, if you study at Eindhoven University, which is the case of my boyfriend, their credits is their minimum BSA is 45 credits, meaning he can fail 3 more or less subjects and he can continue his studies. However, in Erasmus University, you have what is called a compensation rule. So if you have in your first year a grade that is 7 or higher, and the subject you failed is between 4.5 and 5.4, then you can compensate that grade and you can continue your studies. The minimum passing grade in Erasmus is a 5.5. So mostly if the subject is 100% exam, you need to get a 5.5 in the exam. If you have assignments and you have an exam which goes to your grade, then your final grade needs to be a 5.5. You don't need to get a 5.5 in the exam. However, the minimum grade you need to get in the exam in those cases is a 4.5. If you get a grade lower than 4.5, then you don't pass the exam and you don't pass that subject. So what I was saying before is also you have another case which is called personal circumstances. If you have a personal circumstance which affects your studies and you're not able to continue your studies because, for example, you suffer from anxiety, you suffer from depression, and you, for example, take pills, or someone in your family died, your mom has a serious illness and you cannot go and take those exams, then they may do an exception and you may continue your studies. But in the next year, you have to get all the subjects that you failed. So for example, if you failed 4 subjects, then you're gonna recourse those 4 subjects at the same time you take the second year courses. That was my case. I know some other people, they were requested to get those courses before they take their second year courses. But in my case, I was able to take my second year courses and my first year courses that I had to recourse at the same time. I'm saying recoursing a lot. But that's how it works more or less. So the university has a lot of links that helps you and provides you information if you have a case like this. But they have steps that you need to take in order for the personal circumstances to, work, let's say. So if you have a personal circumstance, for example, you suffer from anxiety, you need to call the study advisor, and the study advisor needs to create a case, meaning that the university needs to know that you are suffering from anxiety. Another case, if a family member dies during the dates of your exams, you need to call your study advisor and tell them that you're suffering from a family loss and your studies may be affected because of this loss in your family. This is very important because at the end of the year, when the BSA result comes out, they're going to be able to fight as if you're in court, let's say, for you, and they need to be able to explain your situation in full detail. So you need to explain it as best as possible. Now I'm gonna go more into detail about IBA. So IBA is a 3-year degree, which is usually divided into 4 to 5 blocks, and each block is 2 to 2.5 months. So the academic year starts in September and it ends in June if you don't have any resits. But if you have resits, the resits period continue until July. So more or less, you know the time frame. That is for Erasmus University. I know, for example, for Eindhoven University, so TU Eindhoven, my boyfriend studies there, that's why I have a bit of information. Their academic period is the same, so it's between September to June, but their resit periods are in August. Then between each block, you have 3 to 6 courses if you don't need to take any resits. And one thing I really want to point out that I didn't know at the moment was that Erasmus University is a very self-study course or a very self-study degree, meaning that you may not have a lot of physical courses or physical lectures that you have to go and attend, but you have a lot of reading and watching videos in the apps Canvas that we use a lot. Then the final grade of your subject is usually what you get in the final exam. Most subjects are 100% exam grade. However, some subjects, as I mentioned before, or I'm going to mention later, I don't know how I'm going to edit this, you may get some points from assignments, and then you may get bonus points either by attending extra exams that are not mandatory or by doing RM research, which is you sometimes attend some research from faculty members or alumni or people that are doing masters. Usually you just need to complete some quizzes, but it depends on each course. I feel, if I don't remember wrong, I have a few videos about that in my Study With Me or Day in My Life, where you can see some examples of how usually those research work. Then I'm gonna go more into the Netherlands. So a few things I would have liked before moving to the Netherlands and knowing. So the weather. I come from South America, so Uruguay, which is a very small country, and we have very distinguished, you can distinguish between seasons. So you can distinguish between summer, spring, winter, and autumn. It is very noticeable when you change between seasons. That is not the case in the Netherlands. You either have very short days during winter and autumn, or very long days in summer. So the sun usually goes down at 11 p.m. And it comes out like at 7. So you have very long days. However, in winter, it is very short days and it rains a lot. I don't feel a lot of people talk about this. Maybe it's because for me, it's a very culture shock, not culture shock, but weather shock, that it rains so much. But in the Netherlands, it rains a lot. So you really need to prepare yourself and get rain suits when you're with your bicycle. Yeah, that exists. I didn't know that existed until I moved to the Netherlands. Get very good umbrellas that don't break easily, because it is very windy in the Netherlands, like so windy. So you need to get very strong umbrellas. Then I feel like it's also very important to mention the housing crisis that the Netherlands is going through. It is very difficult to find a room or an apartment, and it is also very expensive. In my case, I had to look over 300 apartments in websites like Pararius. Most of them I didn't get an answer, because a lot of people don't want students, and it's understandable. And for some, they wanted Dutch people, which is also understandable. But it is very important to mention that you guys need to start looking for apartments beforehand. So I started looking for apartments when I got the notice that I got into the university. And as I said, I looked over 300 apartments. Then in June, July, I went with my mom. I was very lucky to be able to travel to the Netherlands to go and have some physical viewings, because also the owners want to meet you, know who you are, if you're responsible, and know your parents and your family. So I was very lucky that my mom and I were able to travel to the Netherlands and did some physical viewings. I did 3 physical viewings. 2 out of those 3 were group viewings, meaning you go with 10 extra people and then you view the apartment with 10 extra people. And then the third one, which is my apartment currently, I went in alone. I got to talk one-on-one with the owner of the apartment, and luckily I got it. But it is also important to mention that it is very expensive. So you need to take into consideration that usually a room goes for 600 to 1,000, and if you want an apartment, it can go from 1,000 to 3,000. So it's important to take into consideration that. My recommendation is to check student housing, such as SURE, that it's all around the Netherlands. Doesn't matter which university you apply to. There's SURE next to Erasmus University. There's a SURE in Groningen, which my boyfriend's brother attends, and he lives there currently. There's also a SURE in Eindhoven. There's a SURE in The Hague. So my recommendation is to look into student housing. Erasmus also has some student housing buildings on campus. So you have Hatta, which a lot of people I know lived in Hatta, but it's important to mention that usually you can only live there for 1 year. So you still need to find an apartment outside university campus. So I think it's very important to mention that. And I think that's it for everything you have to know to study in the Netherlands and to study at Erasmus University. I hope I was very clear. And it's not it's not very like a lot of information at once, but I hope this helps you take. One thing I also like to mention: Erasmus University is not the same as the Erasmus Scholarship. I got a lot of questions about that. So Erasmus University is an actual university where you get a degree of 3 years and you graduate from Erasmus University. Erasmus Scholarship is something else. If I'm not wrong, Erasmus Scholarship is like you get to choose one country and then you just travel around the world and partner universities. That's not it. That's not what I'm doing. Erasmus University is a university at Rotterdam where you study your whole degree, your whole bachelor in the Netherlands. They're 2 different things. I got a lot of questions about people who are doing the Erasmus Scholarship, and I don't have information about that. So I would like to make that very clear, that they are two different things, two different, complete different things. So I would like to do that separation. But yeah, I hope this video is going to be valuable for you guys, that I've answered a lot of questions. I'm also always open to answer any DMs. I've got a lot of DMs the past year about what is studying in the Netherlands. So you can also ask anything. I'm open to any type of questions. I'm open to answer anything. And I hope I've made things a bit clear.